Well, that's, of course, a little bit of a tough act to follow, but I think my man Sean right here can do it. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well.
Right on. For the folks at home, why don't you tell them who you are and what you do?
My name's Sean Hemrick. I'm the producer of Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks at Midway in Chicago.
Right on. And you've actually brought us the Shaolin Monks, and you are playing it currently, correct?
Right now I'm playing it on that little screen. Now they got on the big screen. That's much better.
Now, for the folks at home that don't know anything about Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks, can we actually talk a little bit about what it is and how it fits into the Mortal Kombat universe?
Totally. Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks is based in the MK universe around the time of MK2. So we start the game with this huge blowout battle royal, 13 MK characters doing the final battle of MK1.
Oh, wow.
So you see that big battle, Liu Kang wins, and then we go into the MK2 storyline, and Liu Kang and or Kung Lao go off into Outworld.
I gotcha. And so, like, how many of the different characters are we going to see in this, and how does it work in terms of who do you play as? You got Liu Kang, you got Kung Lao. How does that all work?
Well, you play as Liu Kang or Kung Lao, or we actually have a co-op mode where you can play as both, working together through the whole game.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, we're really excited about that.
Can I do that online, or
you can't do it online?
Okay.
We would have had to trim some of the other features back to make it function online, and we didn't want to do that. We wanted to make the best possible experience we could.
Right on. Now, how does that work out when you're going through the game? You guys bump up the number of enemies or the co-op players face?
For co-op, we do a little more. It's not just number of enemies, waves of enemies. We want to be a little smarter than that. So we have different AI, and then with co-op, we also have some different puzzles. There's extra areas of the game that can only be accessed with co-op play. There's a secret co-op boss that's not part of the main storyline, which you only get to fight if you're playing in co-op mode.
Fantastic. So what about the, let's go ahead and talk about the gameplay mechanics. How does that work? Does it feel like Mortal Kombat fighting games, or?
It feels great. We started this with a prototype. We spent 6 months prototyping just the fighting engine.
Wow.
To make sure we got it the way we wanted it, because it's Mortal Kombat. It had to feel good. It couldn't just be a button masher. So the game has 3 attack styles that you can go through, and quick attacks. I can launch them into the air at any time. Everything's fluid. We call it our multi-directional fighting system. I can fight in any direction, any time, and it's not just the character glitching around. They're actually completely different animations. If I'm running, the animations change. So if I just punch with this, but if I'm running, it does a completely different attack.
Gotcha.
The whole system flows seamlessly from one attack to the next, including going seamlessly from that into the platform abilities like wall run, wall jump, double jump. All that flows seamlessly into our fighting engine.
Now, I see it looks like there's a little brief cinema show in that door open there. How do you guys handle the narrative? How do you guys do the storyline stuff?
With the storyline stuff, we have about 45 minutes of cutscenes that tell the story.
Really?
Then within that, we have probably, it's an obscene number. There's over an hour of probably quick hints and tips. Like, if you're not getting something, we have little hints that get you through and tell you how to work the puzzle. Like here we have a quick tip on how to use the blocking mechanism. This is great for boss battles because if I'm fighting a boss and then he's got extra minions around, one of the things we've added to this game, branching out from traditional MK one-on-one, I can focus on him, but then I don't lose the ability to fight in multiple directions. I can do a backwards attack, and it's a completely different animation, and then still stay focused on my boss.
Right on. Now, what about the boss battles you mentioned? Yeah, am I going to go up against Goro? Am I going to go up against Shao Kahn?
We had a blast doing all the boss battles. One of the ones that you play here in the demo right on the E3-4 is Baraka. And we've done a lot of things with the boss battles to like really blow them out. So like Baraka starts with traditional, okay, here's a one-on-one fight. Well, then we go, okay, you beat that part. Now Baraka gets mad. He takes some monks that he kidnapped earlier that saw in the story, throws them at you. They're running around on fire, and it's another hazard while you're fighting Baraka.
Oh, wow.
Then he gets mad again and goes over, and you got to do a projectile fight with him. Then he gets mad again and goes berserk, and it's all weapons-only fight. We do that with all the boss fights. They have different things. Like Reptile, you have to fight this enormous snake, the largest snake we've ever seen in a video game, before you can even get to the Reptile fight.
Neat. What about the different modes you got in there? Of course, you got the single-player storyline stuff. What else you got?
We have the single-player storyline. We have the co-op mode. We also have a versus mode. Originally from a bug, you were able to hit your buddy in co-op mode, and in fixing that, we're like, God, this is actually kind of fun. So we built a co-op mode that has 16 different maps that aren't, again, just backgrounds like the MK2 was, but they're actually like interactable. Like some of them have other enemies in there while you're fighting. There are tons of death traps and health traps around going on while you're in the co-op or in the versus mode. And then there's pickups around there. You can pick up weapons. You can pick up extra health. You can pick up the ability to do all your super moves. Because we kept, of course, all the super moves in MK2 in there. I'm doing the fireballs, the fly kick. Kung Lao's got his teleport and his spin and his dive kicks. It's all in there.
Right on. There's a good question in from John in Ireland. I actually know the answer to this one, or at least I believe I know the answer to this one, but I'll let you take it. Why did you take the MK2 as the basis of the game for the story and not the later titles after MK2?
Well, MK2 is a lot of people's favorite. It's one of our favorites. And when we saw this engine like in action, we was like, wow, that is really good. Liu Kang and Kung Lao will be perfect for this. And that's just when the story really seemed to make sense. Besides the fact, just a lot of people's favorites. All the backgrounds of MK2 are levels of this game, and it's just a ton of fun to like see the wasteland blown out to a full 3D interactable world where you can impale enemies, and it's been a blast for us.
Now, does it tell stories that are so you got the MK2 style of story, you got that period of time? Does it lead into the stuff that we already know past that? And does it leave it open for a sequel?
It does leave it open for sequels because MK's had a rich, long history of tons of things to build off of. What we've done a lot of is bring a lot of the rumors to life. So we tell a lot of the story that you didn't get to know. We also explain a lot of things that people were wondering about, like, why is Sonya chained up in the background of that thing? Totally figure that out. You can actually set her free in this game. We do a lot of side missions that are probably like 30% of the game is side missions you don't even have to do, but it's how you find a lot of the secrets. We took rumors like people thought you could throw enemies into the trees in the living forest. It wasn't really true in MK2 now, but it's totally true in this game. All those rumors we brought to life.
Some of the questions I see in here coming in, hidden secrets have always been a big part of the MK universe. Yeah. Are you guys going to have a similar crypt-style area to unlock the stuff?
Yeah, we don't call it a crypt in this game, but we have about the same number of items. The best part about Shaolin Monks Secrets is that because we're an adventure game, we can unlock them in really fun and creative ways. There's some that are really difficult, like if I go back here actually into this past room, I didn't reveal the secret, but I'll tell you right here. In this first room, if I throw an enemy into that skeleton on the wall, that breaks and that reveals a secret. Some of the things are literally that hard to find. But some of them will be easy. You'll just come into a room, see it, pick it up, and get it. And then that's how we get to unlock things like there's breakables here, like there's other playable characters, unlocking backgrounds in versus mode, unlocking other characters in versus mode, and just a lot of things in the game we can unlock. Extra fatalities. There's just tons of those.
So is there any difference between, and actually, can we talk about the different versions you're going to have? What platforms will be available for and when it will be available?
It'll be available on the PS2 and the Xbox in September, both in America and in Europe, all simultaneous.
Any difference between the two versions?
Not much, but Xbox has some natural things it does better. There might be a secret or two that we're going to vary between the two, an unlockable or something like that. We're talking about doing specific per platform, but right now we're not confirming any of that.
Now, what any secrets you can share into the way of the world of the Shaolin Monks? Are we going to see any portable version of this? Are we going to have any PSP gaming on the go?
We really like the PSP. The MK team, we're big fans of it. We're doing Deception for the PSP for this fall right now. So we've talked about it, but we're not committing to doing it just because we don't want to take any time away from our doing this game as it is to make sure this is as good as it could possibly be. Here's one of the cameos from Johnny Cage. There's probably 30 MK characters at various points in this. The good guys help you, the bad guys are the enemies, It's fun to work with Johnny Cage through some different missions.
Now, about did you guys go back and did you guys get all voice talent, right?
We got original voice talent. It was actually very hard to track some of it down. Like the original guy, Shao Kahn, we found him in Northern California somewhere.
He actually was like a karate instructor or something.
I'm not even sure what he does. So we found a lot of the original voices. Ed does his original voice. Ed Boon does his voice that he did in the MK2. Other than that, for people that didn't have their traditional voices, we got professional voice actors to do a lot of those voices. So you'll notice a huge step up in the voice quality for this game.
And so, are you talking about when you say voice actors? Like, are we talking about the original Sonya? Are we talking about?
For the original Sonya, we didn't get her specifically. But like the original Liu Kang voice, actually the exact same audio calls are in there.
Oh, really?
It would have been a little repetitive for a game like this because it's so much longer. You would have heard it a lot.
Right.
So we had to beef it up with some new actors and some additional stuff. But most of it's still in there.
How does the breakdown work in terms of gameplay between the actual puzzle solving and the actual combat?
Well, what we think we've done great is we liked our combat system so much, we made it our puzzle system as well. So instead of going into a room and like, okay, here's the puzzle, I got to grab this handle, slide this thing over here, put it in front of this hole, and it stops the invisible penguins from coming through. Instead of something crazy like that, we have like barriers. You'll notice there's a broken wall, and you'll get some hints, and I'll use the fight system to actually throw an enemy through the wall. We wanted the player to feel they were making the achievements, and they were doing the thing. So like, you have special attacks like do the throw, so you actually make the thing happen instead of the game kind of doing it for you. We wanted the player to feel. So a lot of our puzzles are based on the fight engine and like, okay, here's how you know how to throw an enemy in the air. Now, throw an enemy into the air in order to impale them on these spikes, and then you can jump on their dead body and move on.
Nice. Daniel Maya in Redmond, Washington wants to know, so with the new fighting system, are there any counterattacks?
Well, there's counters as far as like there's some enemies that are based totally on defense.
I got you.
Each enemy has its own AI. There's a couple enemies where, like, if you don't block, you are screwed. So you're going to have to block and then counter. There isn't an in-depth counter system like we had in Deadly Alliance or even like some of the stuff in Deception, but there definitely is a need to be using your blocking and different attacks.
Gotcha. This is a good question for Christopher in Key West, Florida. What's the learning curve like? Easy for MK veterans to get into, or are there a lot of new things for MK veterans to learn?
The MK veterans, like, we were actually surprised in the booth. We've been watching people play, and the MK fans just seem to pick this game up and immediately get it. Like, if you know some of the old combos, you're going to end up doing combos right off the bat. They're going to be easy to do. For the average player, it's also pretty easy to pick up. We really wanted to make the average player able to pick this up and go. The MK people are going to pick it up a little faster because we've kept a lot of the things the same and a lot of things working smoothly together with the old system.
Right on. This is a good question from Andrew Fitzpatrick in Winchester. What kinds of fatalities are there, classic or new?
Well, here's a great example. I'm just about to perform a fatality. We went through a lot of pain to make sure it's easy to do fatalities in this game. There it is. I can see on the TV, so I know what I'm doing. So we actually teach the player how to do fatalities, because I think a lot of people weren't able to do them in the old Mortal Kombats. So you see a lot of the fatalities. Here's one that's actually an homage to an old Mortal Kombat fatality. And we did a lot of them, have got the old fatalities in and then brought them to 3D and modernized them, and then there's a ton of new ones as well.
Fantastic. I got to wrap it up. Is there anything you want to say before we go?
Just enjoy the show. Tell your friends. We'll have a good time.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a look at some more of the action from the E3 2005 show. So without further ado, take it away.
Hi, I'm Sean Hemrick. I'm the producer for Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks.
My name's Ed Boone. We're here to give you a first peek at Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks. Let's start the video.
Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks is an action-adventure game set in the Mortal Kombat universe during the time of MK2. We're basically retelling the story of MK2, but this time we're adding a lot more detail, and we're going to fill in all the missing past. As you'll see in a second, we've brought up all the original MK2 backgrounds into full 3D, as well as we've taken all the secrets and rumors that were in MK2 and brought them into life. And in keeping with that tradition, we've added at least one secret or unlockable to every room of Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks. The heroes of our game are Liu Kang and Kung Lao, and as they venture through the game, they're going to interact with Raiden and other classic MK characters in the realms.
Let's start with the Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks fighting system. We have a very unique fighting system that's both elaborate and very accessible. Through a combination of your analog stick and a variety of attack moves that you have at your disposal, you can create unlimited number of combos basically in any direction. Let's take a look at some of these combos that you can make. You'll notice Liu Kang and Kung Lao can actually have aerial combat moves that they combine with their special moves. So you can see some of these crazy combos they can use in combination with your jump attacks. Check it out here. Liu Kang and Kung Lao also can attach to her opponent. Look at Liu Kang as he uses his opponent as a shield, can throw him away. He can grab him and also can go running off his shoulder there. And then he can also grab his opponent and just finish him off with one kick. Kung Lao is a similar move where he can basically get on his opponent's shoulders, beat him up a little bit. He can launch him up into the air. He can also get on his shoulders and just kind of finish him off with kind of a stomp to the head there. Now, if you notice, they can actually combine these moves together here. They can actually attach to the character and jump up in the air.
One of the things Mortal Kombat's always been known for is spectacular super moves for each character, and Shaolin Monks is no different. Here you see Liu Kang has access to his fireballs, his fly kicks, his uppercuts, and of course, you'll see in a second, his bicycle kick. And of course, Kung Lao has the ability to do his hat throw, his dive kicks. The next scene, you'll see his teleports and his spin moves. And of course, we have our enemies, of course, they have their super moves. There, Baraka has his. One thing we've done to make this special, though, is we've taken it one step further and made everything upgradable. Liu Kang has the ability to do an attack that has multiple fireballs. Later, he can choose to upgrade to the ability to do fireballs from the air. Kung Lao, you see, will be able to upgrade to variations on his hat throw. Here's one variation. What you'll see in a second, he never loses the ability to do his original hat throw. The entire time, the player is just adding moves to his fighting arsenal, And you can choose which branches you want to upgrade and when. Or you can choose to have the game do it for you automatically. We want to give the player as much versatility as possible, and everything works seamlessly within the same combat system.
We're very excited about the puzzle system in Shaolin Monks. It's very unique. A lot of the puzzles involve taking your opponent and throwing them into certain areas of the background. You'll notice here, Liu Kang, his goal here is to feed the snakes that are in the background here. A lot of times when you take your opponent, you throw them into a background, it opens up an area for you to progress into the game. Right here, you notice Liu Kang throwing his opponents off the cliff into the pit. And right here, his goal here is to throw these guys up into this spikes here that you see from Mortal Kombat 2, which lowers this platform, which lets you have access to the other area. Kung Lao right here needs to knock as many of his opponents into this fan down below, which will create a ledge that he can actually jump onto and escape here. Here there's kind of like a chomper that really does nothing but look cool. Here, finally, Liu Kang knocks his opponent into this catapult, which sends him flying off to God knows where he's going to land.
One of the first things we wanted to do when we took Mortal Kombat into the adventure arena was we wanted to give the player access to all your traditional platform and adventure abilities. So here you see Liu Kang running through our more traditional open world, using wall climb. Here Kung Lao is using swing in order to access an area they didn't have access to otherwise. Then the player is going to use the wall run ability to traverse through our environment. All this links seamlessly with our fighting engine. Next you'll see Kung Lao run up a wall and immediately attack right out of the air. Everything links seamlessly so the player has as much versatility as possible.
Scattered throughout the backgrounds are a variety of weapons that they can use. These weapons have different characteristics, do different amounts of damage, from just kind of like the short attacks to these kind of crazy swords that you can actually cut your opponents in half with, as you'll see Kung Lao doing here.
One of our favorites on this, at least my favorite feature, is our boss battles. We're not a traditional ring fighter like Mortal Kombat is traditionally, but we've used a lot of that to our advantage, where we can use weapons, the interactive environments are more open world, and the interactive environments all in the boss battles. And then we start to throw additional challenges at the player. Here you see this large snake comes in and enters. You have to battle this large snake before you can even begin to do the reptile boss battle. Here, Ermac is using the environment against you as a weapon while you're fighting him at the exact same time. Here, you're going to not fight one, but three bosses all at once in our Katana Melina Jade fight.
As you probably noticed, you can play co-op gameplay with Mortal Kombat. One guy is Liu Kang and one is Kung Lao. Each character has their own special moves and abilities that they can do. And they can actually do these moves in conjunction. So the game has cooperative and competitive modes. You can pop one guy up into the air, and the other guy can finish the combo. And you have a number of attach moves that you can actually get going where you can both in tandem create this one super move, as we'll check out coming up here.
And of course, it would not be Mortal Kombat without fatalities. So there's your first look at Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks. Ed and I will both be available to talk later at the gameplay session. Thank you.
It's rated E for everyone.
Shaolin Monks was actually a different game, and they came to us and they mocked the game up as Raiden. You know, imagine Raiden running around doing all the moves that he did, and they said, hey, what do you think? We think this would make a really cool Mortal Kombat game. They put some awesome moves. They came up with this great fighting mechanic with all that, and we were like, absolutely. And I was like, I think it should be a 2-player game. It should be Liu Kang and Kung Lao, and let's, so then they like changed the models around and mocked that up, and they were all exciting, and that just kind of set it off in the direction. The guys at Paradox, they were working on a really great mechanic that they had, and we just kind of merged the two with Mortal Kombat, and that started the whole thing.
Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks is our attempt to take Mortal Kombat into another style of game, the action-adventure genre. When we started this game, we really wanted to make sure we had a really solid engine, so we got a really good fighting engine in to make sure we were competent in that. But then we wanted to take a step back in MK2 world. Everyone loved MK1, MK2, but there was so little story involved there. There was very little going on as far as like what we could convey in that era with technology and what games could do, especially with the arcade. So we're going back and retelling the story of Mortal Kombat 2, grabbing Liu Kang and Kung Lao as our two main heroes, doing all the MK2 storyline, but in much more detail. A lot of the story elements that you couldn't get before are now flushed out with our cinematics.
They're just taking the stuff that exists and really trying to expand on it, like a lot of the story with Johnny Cage. Katana, Melina, and Jade play a really big role in the game, whereas Jade was just kind of like this hidden character that programmed in an afternoon, changed Katana to be green, and then that was it. They really expanded on it and really made it a lot more deeper story with the three of them.
MK has done a series of different adventure games before. We set those aside and just started fresh with this. Like, okay, we're taking Mortal Kombat Fight into an adventure style. So let's look at the core MK fight mechanics, juggles, combos, super moves, fatalities. Now let's find a way to seamlessly integrate that into a fight engine. And then, as long as we're fighting in an open world, more or less an adventure game, we have to be able to fight multiple lanes at once. We didn't like a lot of adventure games that like, you attack this way and then they quickly turn and everything's just turn, turn, turn. So we built a multi-directional combat system, so if you do attack this way and then turn to fight the other way in a very fast function, every attack has a different animation for backwards and both sides. We wanted everything to be completely seamless, and every move can link to every other move. The player in our game starts with about 50 moves, which is almost double what your average adventure game has at the end of the game. Then we let the player move up to almost 100 total moves by the time they're done.
We always knew that we were going to have a lot of nostalgia with this game. People are going to say, "Oh, I remember that background when I was playing MK2." But we didn't know how cool it would be seeing it in 3D. The guys at Paradox did an amazing job. They like looking at stuff and expanding it into the third dimension, from stuff that we had in 1995.
Bringing the MK2 world to life was one of the more fun things for me. We would literally just start. The concept art was interesting because we would start with an MK2 background and then make concept art from that. We literally would take screenshots and concept art up and then go, okay, how do we make this 3D? How do we make it more interactable? Okay, we have the forest. There were a lot of rumors that the trees could eat people. That's something we have to do immediately. The trees have to be able to eat people. You know what, this background, the tombs had the spikes in the ceiling, totally got to be usable all the time. We wanted every MK2 background to be in the game and fully interactable. It was a lot of fun bringing those into real life. It's been a lot of fun to have those MK2 rooms inspire whole levels.
The fighting system has gone through a number of refinements. The basic premise was there, the foundation of the fighting system was there, and we made suggestions and they've modified it. Just as any fighting game kind of goes through the whole process of tweaking and modification, and we get people to play it. My big thing that I push is to make it as accessible as possible, because you can make something that's really cool and elaborate, but if 80% of the people can't appreciate it, it's not going to perform well. So we really wanted to make it as accessible as possible.
A lot of the MK2 fatalities we're using as stepping stones to bigger fatalities. But we took the death system of Mortal Kombat into a much bigger theme into this, because we wanted to not have to flop and die like a lot of other games you die. There's a lot of times in the game you might just want to let your character die just to see what happens. All the boss fights have a special fatality. You and the opponent. You have your standard fatalities you can perform on the regular characters throughout the game. Even just the levels, we have what we call level fatalities. Different levels have their own fatality. Just dying in the living forest, if you die in certain areas of the living forest, the vines will come out and rip you out and rip you apart. Every area has its own special fatality. Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks would come out in September 2005 for PS2 and the Xbox. My name is Sean Hemrick. I'm the producer for Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks. Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks is kind of a step back in the MK storyline, so that during the time of MK2, we go into a lot more detail of the story. MK2 is a great head-to-head fighter, but couldn't tell a lot of the details of the story. So we're stepping back, taking it into an adventure setting, and now with an action-adventure game, telling all that detail. At this Gamers Day, we're showing about 2.5 of the first 3 levels out of a total of about 10 of the game. We're going to give you one more boss battle. We're going to let people play up to the Katana Melina Jade boss battle where you can fight 3 bosses at once. And then we're going to also show the Wuxi Academy almost in full. And then we're also going to show a lot of the Evil Monastery, which people haven't seen either of yet, really. What you're not seeing is a lot of the advanced super moves of the game. Because it's hard to pick up this game if you've never played it before and get into a lot of the combos, we still wanted people to be playing the introduction level, kind of a tutorial, the Goro's Lair, and the Wuxi. We really start to learn all of our mechanics, all how to use the fight mechanic, our multi-directional fighting system, all that. So you're not really seeing a lot of the, once you acquire wall jump and wall run and all those abilities and how those lace seamlessly into the fighting engine, as well as some of the advanced upgrades. You'll be able to see in this build that the uppercut has many upgrades, and the fly kick and the spin move and the hat all have a lot of upgrades. And through the course of this demo that you'll play at Gamers Day, you'll probably only get through about a third of those. You'll still be able to see that you have access to other ones, but you won't be able to unlock them all yet. The last things to happen right now is literally Ed Boon and I just got back from LA with the kind of the last list of here are the things Ed wants, and here's the things we want to change to make this game perfect. We've been at about 0 bugs now for about 2 weeks, and it's just Ed changes something, it creates new bugs, we fix those. We change something else, those create bugs, we fix those. So we're really in the final tweak stages, just getting the game tuned perfectly. Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks will be coming out this September for PS2 and the Xbox.
My name is Ed Boon. I am the creative director for Mortal Kombat for Midway Games.
My name is Sean Hemrick. I'm the producer for Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks.
Well, Shaolin Monks didn't actually start in Midway, Chicago.
Paradox Development came to us and kind of pitched the concept of this game without Mortal Kombat attached, and when we saw the fighting engine, Ed really liked it, and we started talking about it. It was originally Raiden. Ed really kind of wanted to gravitate that towards some other characters.
So I suggested Liu Kang and Kung Lao together at the same time, the Shaolin Monks, and I thought it was a lot more of an appropriate fit.
And that kind of blew everyone away a little bit at first because nobody's ever done this kind of game co-op with all these moves, the aerial acrobatics and the speed of the game. It's always had to be like Gauntlet style or Baldur's Gate where it's slow, no jumping. One of the things we implemented that really helped was we have a block and lock on. It's the same button. So you're able to block and lock on. So you can actually almost make this game feel like MK2 because you can pick a character to lock onto and almost have that 2D feel to it and do your moves and do all the super moves. But then we added this 3-dimensional aspect where, okay, I'm locked onto this guy, but I can push the controller stick back the other way and do a completely different move behind me, take this guy out who's hassling me, but then stay locked onto the boss or whoever I want right in front of me.
Then the Mortal Kombat, art directors kind of got involved. It seemed appropriate to kind of set it in the time of Mortal Kombat 2, and then we got like a mock-up going with some of the graphics from Mortal Kombat 2, kind of looking at them in 3D, and then everybody kind of got this nostalgic feel of, oh wow, it's, the armory, the Evil Monastery, and all of the kind of familiar settings in 3D, and that got everybody really excited about that.
Dealing with the MK2 part of this game has been a lot of pressure in that everything has to be right. One of the huge advantages we have is the guys in our LA studio, our lead designer, the boss battle designer, and many of the other guys on the team are MK2 fans.
They had a Mortal Kombat 2 arcade machine there. They had all the books in front of them, and they clearly were, they had taken their prerequisite course for Mortal Kombat 2.
So they would remember things about the game Ed had already forgotten.
They were very receptive to to my suggestions. They had a great fighting engine as a base to start with. In terms of gameplay features, again, I really pushed this whole 2-player thing, and at first, it was very difficult to get it functioning, the way that we wanted it played. So there was a lot of experimenting with that, but like I said, the guys in Midway LA are they had a very clear vision as to what they wanted to do with their puzzle system. They wanted to do stuff with the bodies, and
kind of the core thing we took with this was this game was MK2. We wanted to center it around this multi-directional combat system. Because it's MK, we started a lot with the combat system right off the top. It's one of the things we liked best about the Paradox demo was that it had this great fight mechanic. Ed actually got involved with some of the guys, designing it and actually tweaked some of the engine himself, like change that, help this, help that.
cutting guys in half, which opened the door here and there. And that, I always thought that that was a great angle from there. So from my perspective, I really just focused in on, you know, the immediate game experience that the player would have, you know, how accessible are the controls. Then it just became the visuals and the audio. All the backgrounds, all the characters, we wanted all the MK2 characters to play a role in there.
So one of the jokes we have is if it was in MK2, it's in this game in some way. All the backgrounds, all the characters, a lot of the secrets, even some of the bugs we pulled into the game and used in another way. There was always the rumors of the trees can eat people. I remember seeing people in arcades and I tried like throwing people into those trees and every which way to get people in those trees. We made that like a whole puzzle in the forest. Like that is just a feature now in the game. Then there were things like that, okay, hey, we all kind of, hey, this character's cool, we want this character in the game, but like it doesn't really fit into the MK2 storyline. Because a lot of the fans, like, they want to know more about this story, we couldn't just start throwing things in there that didn't make sense.
So we got a story writer. He kind of, you know, we gave him all the points of data and said this is what the story we had before, and just kind of elaborate on some of these areas that we just kind of touched on in a fighting game. This game has hidden stuff in droves. I haven't even seen all of the hidden stuff that's in the game. It's up there with Deception in terms of how much content is just kind of buried in the game.
And then there are a lot of characters you just come across in the game, characters you just fully expect. Like Johnny Cage is a good guy, so you actually have a whole level of the game where you're doing basically cooperative missions with him. Whether you're doing single player or co-op mode, you'll be doing then 2 or 3 people helping through the level with him. You come across, you know, bad guys from Mortal Kombat history. You come across Reptile, and of course he's a boss battle. Katana Melina Jade is one of my favorite boss fights because it's 3 bosses at once, which is something you've never seen in Mortal Kombat before.
You know, between all those 3 things, presentation, story, and fight mechanic, that's how we kind of mixed it together. I'd like to personally see the franchise go into different genres of games. You know, it's kind of scary when you do that because there is like a science to doing each type of these games. You know, I think people who do RPG games, you know, the big ones have been doing it for, you know, 10 years now. The people who've been doing fighting games have been doing it for 10 years. I'm very comfortable in the whole fighting game category, but you know, when you branch off into these adventure games, it's a little intimidating. But at the same time, I think it's necessary. Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks comes out this fall for the PlayStation 2 and Xbox. My name is Ed Boone, and I am the creative director for the Mortal Kombat games, and our latest game is Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks. The game was actually developed at a company called Paradox, and they came to us and they presented the game, and it was just 1 player. They wanted to make it Raiden, and we were really impressed with kind of like this unique fighting mechanic that they got going. So we kind of got our heads collectively together, came up, we wanted to do 2 players at the same time, so I thought Liu Kang and Kung Lao would be a good mix of the 2. You know, set it in the Mortal Kombat 1 and 2 universe, and just expanded on that idea basically. Once we established it as Liu Kang and Kung Lao, we really, just a million ideas kind of came through. One of the main things that separates this game from the other action-adventure games is this co-op kind of gameplay. And we have this really unique fighting mechanic where you can, you know, juggle people in the air, throw bodies all over the place. A lot of the puzzles are geared towards throwing bodies onto weights and then opening doors or throwing a body through a wall. So with that mechanic and the 2 guys together, you get some really like crazy combos in the air where you knock somebody up, the other guy continues the combo, and then you finish them off and throw them through a wall. So you get some pretty dynamic, you know, unpredictable stuff going. The main kind of showcase feature of the game is this crazy kind of new fighting mechanic they got going. It's mainly characters from Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3, but you have like characters like Ermac and stuff that will make kind of cameos, but you know, Baraka, Katana Melina Jade, Liu Kang Kung Lao, obviously Goro, some of the big boss characters are in the game. So the story takes place in the Mortal Kombat 1 and 2 universe, so that's the main characters you're going to see are from those. But there are a lot more cameo appearances and some characters that you can control also that'll be introduced later that you unlock. If you think of any background from Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and a couple from 3, you're going to see it represented in this game. You know, there's a lot of like stuff that people are going to see that they're going to recognize from Mortal Kombat 2 or Mortal Kombat 1, and then we're kind of expanding on it. So you're playing what used to be a fighting game, you're playing this action-adventure game with platform arenas and stuff in the pit or in Gora's lair or in like, you know, that big sky temple from MK2. And you're going to see a lot of stuff that's familiar, but then you see details of it. And I think there's a good like nostalgia in that. As a matter of fact, a lot of the stuff that we put in the game was consciously, you know, rumors from previous Mortal Kombat games that weren't true, but we said, okay, let's make them true. So there's significance to something flying by the moon from Mortal Kombat 1. You actually do knock guys off the pit. A lot of the stuff is that whole nostalgic thing from Mortal Kombat 1 and 2 and making it real in an action-adventure game. Shaolin Monks is coming out in fall of 2005, and it's coming out for the PlayStation 2 and the Xbox.